do you know when someone is attracted to you? We'll find out in this episode, and you'll learn words like glimpse, glance, gaze, toss, and flush. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig.
Hi, welcome.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And if you're a new listener, we're not usually as silly as this and laughing all the time. I don't know why we're laughing, but we're here to help you improve your English and take all aspects of your English. That means your pronunciation, your grammar, your vocabulary, your writing, your speaking, your listening, everything up to the next level using all of our 40-something years of experience between us. How are you, Reza?
Craig, I'm feeling a bit frisky, as you might have heard from the introduction.
What does frisky mean?
Frisky, I'm kind of a bit unsettled, like something's exciting me. I think it's probably because of today's topic.
Body language?
Yeah, romantic body language. I'm kind of frisky, eh?
Well, let's see what happens during the podcast. We did speak about body language in general. So if you're interested in general body language, seeing how people use body language, maybe when they're lying, when they're telling the truth, etc. That was back in episode 238. So to listen to that, go to inglespodcast.com/238. But specifically, how can you tell when someone is attracted to you? What are the signs, the body language signs, to see if people are attracted to you physically? Before we look at some of those signs, we will look at some vocabulary with you to make sure that we're clear on our explanations. So the first word we want to look at is glance. Glance. Can be a verb, to glance, or a glance. What does that mean, Reza?
That verb or noun means to see quickly, but on purpose. So in Spanish, it would be something like ojear or maybe echar un vistazo. I'll give you an example sentence. I quickly glanced at my watch to see the time. So I wanted to know the time. So I made an effort to glance. I glanced at my watch. So I saw something quickly, but because I wanted to.
And notice that the preposition with glance is usually at. You glance at something. So you can glance at your watch. You can glance at the mirror. You can glance at a picture to look at quickly. Our next word also begins with a G. It is glimpse. Glimpse. And the same as glance, it can also be a verb or a noun. To glimpse or a glimpse. And it means to see something quickly, usually by chance or luckily. In Spanish, perhaps you'd say vislumbrar or alcanzar a ver. For example, he caught a glimpse of the famous actress as she was leaving the hotel. Notice the collocation there, to catch a glimpse of something, to catch a glimpse. I caught a glimpse of her as she was leaving the hotel.
Now the next word, which can also be a noun or verb, gaze. Gaze. Let's translate it as mirar fijamente, but it's a word which could be applied in different situations because you can gaze at someone because you love them very much and you're kind of lost in romantic thoughts for them.
She gazed into my eyes and told me that she loves me.
That's a typical meaning of a use of gaze, but it can also be for other things. For example, imagine someone has gone a bit crazy. They've lost their mind and they're just kind of gazing into space, kind of looking at something in a mysterious, dreamy way, but it's not always romantic. It could be for another reason.
Yeah, it could be surprise. You can gaze in surprise at something. But it's usually because you're thinking, like you're gazing at someone with love, or you're gazing at something in surprise because you're thinking about something. Perhaps we should compare it with the verb to stare, which also means mirar fijamente, and it just means to look for a long time. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're thinking about something surprising or something romantic. You're just staring. You're just holding your eyes at something for a long time.
Another piece of vocabulary which is useful to talk about romantic body language is flush. That's F-L-U-S-H. Flush. It can be a noun or a verb. It could be ponerse colorado, sonrojarse, ruborizarse, or something like that. So people flush with embarrassment whenever you like someone and they say something nice and you don't quite know how to react and your face goes red, you flush.
Of course, you also flush the toilet, which has nothing to do with this meaning. But if you flush the toilet, that's when the water goes into the toilet and cleans it. But that's got nothing to do with flushing in this sense. Perhaps a meaning of a flush, the noun, is when women reach a certain age, they get the life change, the menopause, which is usually around about the 50s, is it? I think.
Yeah.
And they tend to get hot flushes. So they feel this heat come up in their body to their face. And maybe they turn red as well. So they get hot flushes.
Now, to toss or a toss can be used in many ways. It can be used in romantic body language. For example, she tossed her hair or she tossed her head. So sacudir, she, quickly moved her head, or she quickly threw her hair up and it moved across one side to the other, something like that. So they say that sometimes women particularly like to toss their hair to show that they might like you. They play with their hair and they might toss it, like kind of throw it up into the air and let it land. Or an animal, like a horse, could toss its head. It just throws it up and around, moves its head around. So there's a romantic body language use of toss, or there's a more general use.
Yeah, there are other things you could toss. You could toss a ball, for example. Hey, toss me that tennis ball. Throw it to me.
Or toss a coin.
Mm-hmm.
You throw it up into the air and you say, heads or tails, cara o cruz.
Toss a coin. Let's decide. You can toss a salad when you put oil or salt or salad dressing, aliño on the salad dressing. Then you need to move it. So the verb we use to move a salad, move the lettuce and the cucumber and the tomato, is to toss. So, hey, can you toss the salad, which means mix it.
Craig, do you ever toss and turn in your sleep?
Yeah, I sometimes toss in my sleep, which means move around in the bed, not stay still.
So you're a bit of a tosser.
Yep, I can. I have been known to toss in the bed quite a bit, actually. I am a bit of a tosser.
It was very funny when I said that Craig had a poker face because he just knew I would say it. He knew I couldn't resist calling him a bit of a tosser.
What's a poker face?
Poker face is cara de poker.
Ah, okay, it's the same.
The word tosser in English can be used as a slight insult.
We should explain that meaning. There is a very vulgar negative meaning to the word toss, which means to masturbate. So what Razor was suggesting or insinuating is that I masturbate in bed.
We better move swiftly on.
Moving on.
Craig, the fact that I insulted you, what did you think of it?
I don't give a toss.
Oh, very good.
Which means I couldn't care less. Water off a duck's back, my friend. I couldn't care less. I
don't give a toss.
I don't give a toss. Be careful where and when you use that expression, because it is quite vulgar not to give a toss. To fancy someone is to be attracted to them physically. Now, you may have heard fancy in the meaning of apetece, I fancy a pizza, or I fancy going out for a drink, or I fancy a glass of wine. You feel like having something or doing something. If you fancy a person, that means you're attracted to them. When I was at school, I really fancied my French teacher. Did you fancy any of your teachers at school?
Yes. I fancied, strangely enough, I fancied the teacher who kept you in for detention.
Really?
Yeah. Whenever you were a bad boy and you had to go to an extra class after normal hours, the teacher who did that was quite cute.
So she wasn't a regular teacher. She was the detention teacher.
Oh, she was a regular teacher. It was just
not
one of
you.
her duties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What did she teach?
Oh, I can't remember. I think it was history, maybe. I don't know much about her. All I know is she looked quite cute, I thought.
And if you fancy someone, you may, or may not, if you're very shy, but you may come on to them. The phrasal verb to come on to someone means to show and let them know that you are attracted to them. So you make a suggestion that you make it clear that you're attracted to them. There's another expression that's similar to come on to someone, to make a pass at someone. You may have heard the expression to pass the ball in football, or to pass it is pasar, but to make a pass, using pass as the noun, means to send very, very clear signals to somebody that you are romantically interested in them. To make a pass or to come on to someone.
Or another expression which is quite new but becoming more and more popular, to hit on someone.
Yeah.
If someone is hitting on you, not hitting you,
They're not
that would
punching,
be,
not punching you. No.
They're not actually hitting you. That would be using violence. They're hitting on you. Don't forget the preposition. Someone's hitting on you. They're making it obvious that they have a romantic interest in you. Hitting on someone.
So signs that someone may be interested in you romantically. Now that we've looked at some vocabulary, let's look at some signs. And, well, we'll see if we agree with these, Reza. What do you think? If someone is looking at you, looking into your eyes and smiling, that's usually a sign that they're interested in you romantically, isn't it?
Well, it depends on the situation, but it can be. They might be smiling and looking into your eyes because you've said something which has really made them laugh, something very funny. But, yeah, it could be a romantic indication for sure.
Also, glancing at you sideways. Remember, to glance is to look quickly. So they're just looking at you and looking away and looking at you and looking away. They're giving you these sideways glances.
That can certainly be romantic. Or it could be because they think you look a bit weird. And they don't want to look you straight in the eye. So they look at you quickly and back again. Or it could be that they think they know you, but they're not quite sure who you are. Or they definitely know you, but they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
There's all different possibilities, but it could be romantic. Could be.
Also, if they keep glancing towards you. So to keep doing something means to repeat it. So they're glancing continuously, maybe surreptitiously. What does that mean, surreptitiously?
Trying not to be seen.
Secretly, almost.
Of course, if they repeat it, there's a very good chance that it's because they like the look of you. That's why they want to keep glancing.
Also, if they hold your gaze. So remember, gaze was mirar fijamente. So if you're gazing at someone, they're gazing at you and they hold your gaze. And this could be maybe quite subtle, not very obvious. Maybe they hold your gaze and look away. Hold your gaze again and look away. That could be a sign of romantic interest.
Yeah, again, it depends how long you hold the gaze for. Because holding someone's gaze for too long might make you just look strange. Like if you look at somebody too long, you can unsettle them. You can make them feel uncomfortable. So the art of...
What does unsettle mean?
Unsettled, not comfortable, not relaxed. So if you're going to try that with someone, don't look at them too long, just a bit.
It could actually be threatening if you hold someone's gaze too long. That could be threatening.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need us to tell you that if you see a big, aggressive looking, tough guy, get on an underground train or something like that, don't hold his gaze for too long.
Especially in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. In Northern European countries, particularly, people are very sensitive about you holding their gaze too long. And tough guys, tipos duros, the type of people who would love any excuse to get into a fight, might use that as their excuse for hitting you.
And say, what do you think you're looking at? If your eyes narrow slightly, this is another possible sign. Your eyes or the other person's eyes get slightly narrower. That could also be a sign.
What does narrow mean?
It's the opposite of wide. So wide is ancho, narrow is estrecho. So if your eyes get slightly narrower, that could show interest. And also an alert posture. If you look very awake and very alert and not sleepy and tired, that could also mean the person's interested.
Craig, what if somebody turns their body towards you?
Yes, especially if their legs are crossed and their legs are crossed in your direction and not crossed away from you. That could also show interest. Their whole body position is turning in your direction.
Matching body posture, some people say, might be another sign. Matching means similar. So imagine you're sitting in a particular way, and this person who might be romantically interested in you is sitting in exactly the same way. They say that can be a sign of interest. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, it's also called mirroring. For example, if you're sitting at the bar drinking and the person you're sitting with lifts their glass to drink and you do the same thing, or you lift your glass to drink and the other person imitates you and mirrors your gesture, then that is a very social, natural thing that could show synchronization between two people. And that's something you do without thinking. Somebody might put their hand on the table and you do the same thing because you're in synchronization with them.
Although I often do that, I think, subconsciously, without actively trying to do it, when I'm in any situation where I'm a bit nervous.
Me too.
Or I'm not quite sure how to react. So I think we'll just do what everybody else does.
Yeah, exactly.
And without thinking, I copy what other people are doing.
Me too. Tosses, if a woman tosses her hair, it's usually more with women than men. If they throw their head and their hair back and toss their hair, move it from side to side. And I think birds and animals do this too. I think it's called preening, where they clean their feathers or they lick their fur and they make themselves more attractive to the opposite sex.
What's fur?
It's the skin of an animal, like the hair of a cat is the fur of a cat.
Another possibility is flushing cheeks. We talked about flushing earlier. When you go red, when your cheeks go red, as we said earlier, it can be because you're romantically drawn towards someone. Another thing is open body language. So if you hold your arms so that you see the insides, the interior part of your wrists, and show the palms of the hand, palma, and that kind of openness might suggest that someone is open to interaction.
And we spoke about that when we spoke about body language in general in episode 238, the idea of openness with your body, showing that there's no threat, you have no weapons. But in romance, it's also vulnerability. I'm letting myself become vulnerable and I'm showing you that I'm open to you. Speaking of things being open, if the person's mouth is slightly open, maybe with wet lips, that could also be a sign of attraction.
Yes, we won't delve
Don't go there.
We won't go into this too deeply, but as you know, look at any advertisement on TV where a glamorous woman, beautiful woman, has her mouth slightly open and wet lips. It's very often associated with kind of sexual attraction.
If the person speaks more softly than usual, that could be a sign of intimacy and romance. So the volume of their voice drops a little. So listen for that as well. And finally, seating. What should people look for when seated?
Well, if someone tucks, that's kind of like fold, doblar, they tuck one leg under the other, and with the knee, la rodilla, pointing towards you.
As we said before.
Or maybe frequent crossing, cruzar, and uncrossing of the legs. Or maybe playing with the shoe. You know how sometimes people let their shoe dangle, dangle. Dangle is when the bit at the front is covering your toe, but the bit at the back, the heel, the bit at the back, is not covering
like
the back of your foot.
Colgado, maybe? It's like hanging?
Yeah, colgado and kind of moving. That tends to be more commonly done by females than males. Well, stereotypically anyway. Also partly because of the design of women's shoes, it's probably easier to do that. I don't know about you, but I nearly always wear shoes with laces. So I would have to untie my laces, quitar los cordones, and it would look a bit silly for me to do. So,
especially in public. Yeah.
Because quite often women, particularly with high heels, maybe because it's more comfortable, because I hear that wearing high heels all day can be very uncomfortable. So if you dangle it, it's a bit more relaxing for your feet as well.
Yeah, generally speaking, if you're relaxed with the other person, then also you're feeling good about being in the company of the other person. Reza, are you good at detecting when someone fancies you?
No. I'm about the worst person in the world, I think. Yeah, I'm very, very bad at detecting when people might be romantically interested in me.
So you don't tend to look for these signs or notice them?
I'm afraid it has to be very, very obvious for me. I'm a bit naive, a bit innocent about these things. I don't look for them as closely as I should, perhaps. What about you?
Yeah, the same, exactly the same. In fact, years ago, many, many years ago, before I came to Spain, I had a friend that was living quite close to me, and I used to help her with her English because she wasn't a native English speaker. And I saw her pretty much every day for a month. She was a neighbor. And I now, when I think back, I know that all of these, or most of these signs were being showed to me, and I really did fancy her. And I did not say a thing. I did not come on to her, if you remember, to make a pass at someone. I didn't say anything. I didn't make a pass at her. And perhaps it was an opportunity lost. It was many, many years ago, because I wasn't very good at the time reading these signs and knowing that perhaps she was attracted to me as much as I was attracted to her. So I think these things are good to know. And they could be quite useful if you're single.
But you know what one of the biggest signs of all can be? Nothing at all. That this person seems to show no interest in you. They never notice you. They make no comment about your appearance. They seem to avoid eye contact. You might think, well, this person clearly has no interest in me at all. And you could well be right. Or it might be quite the opposite, that they're very interested in you, but they don't want you to know, so they go out of their way. They make a special effort not to reveal anything through body language or through eye contact.
So I'm guessing in that case they would be ridiculously shy?
Might
perhaps?
Be that. I can be a shy person, but I also believe it can be a proud person. There is a type of person who doesn't want you to know that they fancy you in case you don't fancy them. So
that's insecurity.
Yes, it's insecurity and pride. Let you make the first move. You go up to them and let them know that you like them. Because if they let it be known to you, you might reject them and then, ooh, they've been rejected. So there can be all sorts of reasons, I think. That has happened to me, by the way. I speak from experience.
Which side were you on?
The receiving end. So okay. I did not notice until it was too late the studied lack of interest.
Right.
In me,
interesting.
Which was showing the fact that this person was highly interested in me.
Well, you'll have to tell me when we're having tea later who that was.
That was a long time ago. We're talking about 20 years ago.
So I don't know the person in question.
Yeah, when I was at university 20 years ago, someone completely ignored me because they quite fancied me.
Ships that pass in the night. One thing I love to do, speaking about body language, it's a bit of a hobby, is I like to sit somewhere in a public place, maybe a cafe, outside in the streets, or perhaps the airport is very good for this, and just watch people walking by and try to guess what their relationship is. If they're married, if they're together for a long time, if they're just friends, just by the way they're relating to each other with their body language, especially if I can't hear what they're saying. If they're sitting in a restaurant, perhaps on the next table, or if they're in a bar having a drink, just to try and see these signs that we've mentioned and try to see what their relationship is. I find that fascinating. Do you do that?
Yeah, sometimes. As you say, when I have a bit of time to kill and I want to entertain myself, it can be fun. And the funniest thing of all is when you get it wrong. When you're convinced, oh, this is a couple, they're clearly fancy each other, they're husband and wife, and then another person arrives who's the real partner.
And kisses them on the... Yeah,
you got it completely wrong.
Yeah, that happens.
Craig, who do you think's better at reading romantic body language and understanding it, men or women?
Oh, that's a good question. I think in general, women are better at noticing detail and paying attention to things, paying attention to words, to the tone of the voice. I think women are better at remembering things, but I'm not sure about body language. Perhaps I'd say that they would be very, very similar. What do you think?
I certainly think that women are more alert about such things.
Yeah.
But I think that men are just as good at picking up on this, detecting this at a subconscious level. I think we all actually pick up on it, but perhaps women are more actively looking for it, whereas men pick it up more subconsciously.
Perhaps.
That's my theory. Anyway, I have no evidence to back that up, but that's just what I think.
Let me ask you another question. When is it appropriate to touch someone you don't know well?
Well, it goes without saying, we'll get it here, that it depends where you touch them. That's the first thing. But let's say,
What, you mean if it's in the street or in the pub? Or
No, if it's on the head or the back or somewhere else is what I meant. Let's say you touch someone on the shoulder, for example, el hombro. That's not too bad, is it? Or is it? Well, it depends.
Depends on the culture, surely.
Depends on the culture. As you know, the Mediterraneans, the Spanish, Italian, Greeks, etc., they're quite touchy-feely. They like to touch. Complete strangers have touched me within seconds of knowing me in Spain. I've bumped into people, or nearly bumped into, chocar, with people in the street. I remember particularly in Andalusia, in Seville, and someone put their arm around me and say, "Oh, very sorry, are you okay?" And I was quite surprised.
I think we spoke about this when we spoke about personal space and how people touch each other more here in Spain than what we were used to in the UK. Yeah, for sure. I'd like it sometimes when people touch me on the arm very gently when they're speaking to me. That shows some intimacy, some connection. It's very nice, I think, to gently touch somebody to show closeness with them. And if I quite like that.
If it's a female, can it be a sign that she fancies you, that she quite likes you?
It depends on what they're actually speaking about when they're doing it, and also how long they touch you for and how they touch you. It's a very, very subtle thing. Just a slight touch or a slight tap even on the arm is quite neutral. But then if you actually hold somebody's arm or shoulder for a while, then that could show something deeper, some attractiveness, I think. It's very, very difficult to describe, actually.
If you, let's say that you were single, you didn't have a partner, and you were with a woman that you'd met not long ago, and you wanted to show her in a subtle way, not in an obvious way, that you were interested in her, how do you think you might touch her? If you thought that she liked you too and you wanted to check if it was the case?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Imagine you talked and it seemed to you there was a good chance that she liked you as well. How might you show this feeling?
I've always been very, very bad at this, and I've always been very shy when it comes to physical contacts with someone I'm attracted to. So I would probably wait for the woman to make the first move. I know that sounds strange, but I probably would. I'm very, very bad at that.
Do you think that's a Northern European defect? Do you think it's because in the north of Europe generally we're shy about making the first contact?
Possibly. Might be the Englishman in me, but I think it's me. I think it's just being very shy and insecure.
They say it's fear of rejection sometimes because once you kind of touch someone in a way that's showing romantic interest, there's not really any going back from there, is there?
Especially if they're friends. Because then you risk maybe the friendship taking a different form or different direction. So you risk maybe changing the friendship if you show romantic interest.
Yeah. It's a dangerous area, isn't it? Yeah, I got to be careful.
Reza, are you aware of your own body language? How you relate to people physically?
Sometimes, not always. I wish I was more aware, but sometimes I stop and think, hey, what am I doing? And I realize, I keep nodding my head. That means to move your head up and down, like to say yes. I didn't know I was doing it, but I'm doing it a lot, which isn't a bad thing. Unless you do it too much, it can look a bit silly, but
yeah,
it can be a good thing. Or quite often I tap my feet on the ground. When I'm sitting at a table, I quite often tap my feet on the ground.
I've noticed that, but you don't do it so much now. I think you're aware of it now and you've stopped doing it as much. You used to do that, yeah.
Yes, because a friend of mine has pointed it out to me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's pointed it out to me.
She mentioned it, yeah.
That I shouldn't do it so much, and that has drawn my attention to it. So I gather it's a bit irritating for other people. I just do it when I'm a bit kind of nervous or a bit excited or something like that. Yeah. What about you?
In some social situations, I'm very aware of my body and how I'm relating to other people. It depends who's there, in whose company I am. With you and certain friends, I'm very, very relaxed, so I don't pay any attention to it, really. But people I don't know very well, or people I'm meeting for the first time, then yes, I would be aware of how they see me and what feeling I get from them, what feelings they're getting from me. So I would pay attention to that. But how aware are you of your body language and people you relate to? Do you agree with us with the things we've said? We would like you to watch people's body language next week and let us know what you think. That's your homework. Observe people around you, strangers or people you know. Notice what they're doing and let us know. Let us know what you think, and we'd be very interested to hear your feedback on that.
If you want to get in touch with us, why don't you send us a voice message about it? You could get us on speakpipe.com/English podcast.
Or send us an email with a comment or question to me, Craig, at inglespodcast.com.
Or belfastreza@gmail.com.
Thank you, as always, to our wonderfully long list of patrons who are continuing to support us on the Patreon website. You can see all of their names on our website at inglespodcast.com. And special thanks to Bruno, our gold sponsor, who offers walking tours of the wonderful city of Copenhagen in English and Spanish. Go to copenhagenwalkingtour.com for more information on that. Or in Rio de Janeiro, Bruno has a guide of the favela area. It's a safe tour of the city and helps the community to improve their daily needs. For information on that tour, go to favelawalkingtour.com.br. And thanks very much, Bruno, for supporting us as a gold sponsor on Patreon.
If you're thinking about sponsoring the program, you could for as little as just $1 per month. That way you'll get instant access to recent transcriptions, which have been done by Angelica Cabello from Madrid. Have a look at Patreon, that's Patreon, patreon.com/English podcast.
And on next week's podcast, we have absolutely no idea what we're going to be speaking about. So please send us your ideas and your comments and suggestions for future episodes. And we will definitely be here, but we don't know at the moment what we'll be speaking about. But until next time we do speak to you, have a wonderful week. Thanks for listening today. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later. Salad dressing, alimiento? No, aliento.
Aliño.
Lo que
Para la
pone en una
ensalada.
ensalada, aliño. Threaten is amanecer? Amanazar. Amanazar.
I imagine there's the idea that you might be imagining something else that you're not actually seeing. Yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not go there. Yeah.